Exactly. So commitment is, if somebody says, I want to lose weight or I want to get a promotion, well, you're going to need some commitment for the process. And if you keep giving up really early, you're never going to get there. And then that dents your confidence and it's all spirals. So, that self-awareness thing, I know that I'm really bad at the commitment piece. So you do have to be really brutally honest with yourself and sort of face your demons in a way in order, to go back a step, to go forward a few.
Hey, everybody. We've had some of the most incredible guests coming to you these past couple of months. The amount of expertise and knowledge on these cutting edge topics is something we really hope that you enjoy. And if you do, it would make a huge difference to us if you could rate, review, and subscribe the podcast. It helps us to get more guests, better experts, and talk about all of the things that are really important to you. So give us a love, give us a lot of love, and don't forget to subscribe so you get all our new episodes.
What's up, guys? I'm excited to share today's podcast guest with you. Her name is Penny Mallory. She is a leading authority on mental toughness and helps individuals and organizations manage stress, pressure, and deadlines and help you develop your mental toughness. She has an incredible story beginning with homelessness as a teenager and draws from an incredible experience she'll share with you guys in this podcast, but more importantly, help you develop the skills to increase your mental toughness. She helps build resilience, confidence, focus, and determination. And I had an incredible time talking with her today. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Thick Thighs Save Lives podcast. I'm Kelsey, and I am very excited to have Penny Mallory on here with the podcast to give you some expert advice on mental toughness. She is absolutely a leader in this space, and I hope to give you some valuable information on how to improve your mental toughness in every day. So, Penny, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Honestly, I chatted with you a little bit before we started, but I'm very excited to get your knowledge on this and get some actionable tips for my community members to improve their mental toughness. One of the things that stood out to me the most was this isn't something that we're born or not born with. And it's something that we can develop. And if you feel that you're not a mentally tough person right now today, there's hope for you by the end of this podcast, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Fabulous. That's what I'm hoping to leave everyone with. So I just wanted to start out by letting them know, kind of who you are. You have an extraordinary story from rally driving at the highest level, conquering mountains, and now rowing the Atlantic. But you started in a much different place. So can you take us back to the beginning and share how your early challenges shaped the woman that you are today?
So I grew up in a really very privileged environment, if I'm honest. I had some private education, so paid for education. I had a nice house. The family looked very nice on the outside, my mum and dad and my brother and I. But on the inside of our house, it was a slightly different story, and really people weren't aware. And I'm not sure that any of us put our finger on anything, but I think my brother and I probably knew things were weird. My mum was really poorly all of my life, really. She was a manic depressive, so swinging from suicidal lows to the crazy highs. And in the UK in the 60s and 70s, when you were as ill as my mum, she was very severe. They would put you in a psychiatric hospital. So most of my growing up years, she was in and out of that psychiatric hospital. She was also a very big drinker, an alcoholic, a chain smoker. Her health was appalling. She never looked after herself. But she was a lovely person. It's just that there wasn't a lot of parenting going on, or at least as I recall it. I was scared of my dad. And there was some really other weird stuff, other people around the sort of family unit that were it was so messed up. So what the people saw on the outside as a very nice life actually was really pretty weird on the other side of the front door. And I didn't deal with it very well. I started behaving quite badly. I now can see I was looking for attention, but I left when I was 14. My parents split up. I stayed with my mum for a while, but I couldn't deal with it. I left home at 14 and never went back. So, of course, it's a young age to be on your own, but I became quite independent. I didn't realise I'd been developing mental toughness right from day one. Didn't know it had a name, didn't know it was a thing. But I ended up in homeless hostels in London for a couple of years, and I was sofa surfing, and I was really having a tough time. So the privileged life that I grew into, it sort of went from that to just rock bottom. It was horrible. Although it was a little bit exciting as well for me, because I always felt like I was on a bit of adventure. I'd always had an idea in my head as a kid that I wanted to be a rally driver when I grew up, which was ridiculous. I'd seen something on TV. It was never going to happen, but it did just stick in my head. And I'd have to say, I got to a point in my life in London where I was so desperate and I just wanted to check out, really. And I thought, before I do something really stupid, I have to go and do this thing that I've been dreaming of since I was a kid, which was to drive rally cars. So I booked myself onto a rally driving course. And that day changed my whole life, because 12 years later, after 12 years of driving, I was the first woman in the world to compete in a world rally car. I was taking part in world championship events. I'd become national rally champion. I'd just done stuff that was beyond my wildest dreams. So that was amazing. Honestly, it was the most exciting, the most amazing thing. I don't know, they have rally driving in the US like they do in Europe and the rest of the world, but I think it's on its way to you. So that was amazing. But of course, a sporting career comes to an end at some point, and then I don't know what to do, because I haven't really done anything at school and I'm not qualified in anything. But I was asked to present a car program on the TV in the UK, which was my luckiest break ever, probably. So I then got to present car programs for many, many years. I then wanted that adventure back from my driving days, because that is you're living on the edge the whole time, and it's super exciting, and it's just mad. And I miss it. So I started climbing mountains all over the world. I started running multiple marathons. I've done 2 boxing fights. I've done triathlons. I've done lots of sort of extreme stuff, really just to push myself and to see what I'm capable of. And in 465 days or something like that, I'm rowing across the Atlantic. I'm rowing from my house to your house, which is 3,000 miles across the Atlantic. So the adventure thing hasn't left me. That's it in a nutshell.
That's incredible. I mean, I'm just absolutely in awe of each of those challenges. But something that really stands out to me is just looking for some of those challenges and kind of seeking out, even from a very young age, how to challenge yourself, and then essentially, figuring out how to develop that mental toughness. What made you kind of like seek out some of those challenges?
I wasn't consciously seeking out anything. I think it was just the environment that I grew up in. It was a constant challenge that I was it was my environment. Everything was a challenge. Felt like it. So it just became a sort of way of life. So for me to push myself to do something uncomfortable or something hard sort of felt normal. Didn't feel, it's really hard to describe, because it's all abstract stuff, isn't it? But pushing myself to do things I didn't think I could do, there was a few layers to it. One, I didn't have a very good feeling about myself because of the way I grew up. I actually had very low confidence. I didn't think I was worthy of anything. And so in a funny way, I was almost punishing myself or testing myself to see if I was worthy. Could I be good at something? How, it was that kind of stuff. And I still find it hard to explain. People say, why you're rowing Atlantic? And there's so many levels of reason that I don't really know how to sum it up. I love an adventure, genuinely. And of course, these kind of big challenges, they push you from the very darkest, lowest moments of your life to some of the highest. And there's something about that, and actually, as I'm saying it out loud, I'm thinking, oh, well, it reminds me of my mum from swinging from dark to light. But there is something amazing about the experience, the human experience of getting through something really tough and having that moment of elation that few people experience. And then you might swing backwards and forwards from those multiple times. But I think it's just something that suits me. I enjoy it as much as I hate it sometimes. I feel like a bit bored without it, a bit sort of purposeless without it. I'm scared of being normal. There's lots of weird stuff going on in there.
Exactly what you're saying just resonates with me so much because I genuinely seek out challenges that are really difficult and challenging and just dark. And people kind of go, like, why are you doing that? Like, that causes you pain.
Right.
That's like, and I'm like, I don't know. There is a beauty in the other side of the challenge and the darkness and the adversity. There is like this lovely beauty that's waiting for you on the other side of it if
I
you can
agree.
just buckle in.
I agree, and I think there's nothing wrong with living just a predictable life. Most people choose that. I quite like to live like you sound like you do, a less predictable life where a few more surprises, a few more challenges. Just chuck it at me. Let's see what happens. And some of
See
it's
what
not going to go
happens.
well, and some of it might go well. But you know what? I'm up. Just come, bring it to me, test me. And I don't really know. I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist, but I don't know really what that's about. But I'm scared of mundane. I'm scared of routine. I want to keep learning. I don't sleep very well, so I listen to a news radio in the night because I think if I'm going to be awake for a time in the night, I might as well learn something. And
I love
I always learn
that.
something. So it does. I never switch off.
You know what? ChatGPT has been such a new like learning tool for me. My partner, he's always like, "What are you learning about right now?" And I'm like, "Well, I will come back to you with a 5 paragraph essay of what I've decided to dive into today." But information has become so accessible that it really fuels that for me because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love learning.
I'm the same. I wasn't. I didn't really achieve anything at school, and it wasn't an environment where I took. I'm not a classroom learner. I'm a
Mm,
experiential learner. Like put me on the boat, and I'll understand how the navigation works, but I will retain zero in a classroom. It's just not a
absolutely.
place where I learn. So yeah, I think the learning that I missed out on as a kid, I'm making up for it as a grown up.
Now. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's incredible. I did want to so you have some 4 pillars of mental toughness. Can you talk about those a little bit and kind of guide us through how
yeah.
those kind of make up mental
So
toughness?
absolutely. So the first of all, they're not my 4 pillars. They belong to AQR International, who developed this concept. They've been working on this for 30 odd years, and it's extraordinary. But when I came across these 4 pillars, I'm like, that explains me. It'll explain you. So first of all, what is mental toughness? Because lots of people, you have to bust a few myths with this. Mental toughness is not an aggressive macho thing. It is about empathy, deep listening. It's about self-awareness. Your mental toughness is a personality trait. It explains why you do stuff and why you don't do stuff. It explains why you avoid stuff, why you run from stuff, why you hide from stuff, why you are alert to challenges, and it explains your personality. I would say, on the whole, mental toughness is beneficial. And the other end of the spectrum to mentally tough would be mentally sensitive, somebody who perhaps doesn't cope with stress, pressure terribly well, but they're really caring and really creative, and they might be the glue in a group of people. And the other end, mentally tough, I'll bounce back from anything. It might not go well, but I'm going to find my way through it. So I think on the whole, right now, in this world that we live in, it's beneficial. So the 4 pillars: control, they all begin with C. Control, the sense of control you have of your life, believing that you have the ability to influence or direct the outcomes of your life. That feels good. I've been out of control several times in my life, and you probably have, but it feels awful. Human beings love to have a sense of control, and you can develop that skill, that ability to have a greater sense of control or a sense of agency over your life. I'm a driver historically, so I would say you're in the driving seat of your life rather than in the passenger seat thinking, oh, I can't, there's nothing I can do about this. This is what life is chucking at me. And that's a really sort of victim stance. Like, there's nothing I can do, woe is me. So the things you can do to develop that sense of control. There's also emotional control. That's your ability to manage and regulate your own emotions, ensuring that your emotions don't negatively impact your performance. We'll have all had a million occasions where our emotions got the better of us. And if we had a chance to do it again, we would have managed our emotions better. You can learn to do it. So that's control. Then there's challenge. This is your ability to see the challenges you face as opportunities rather than threats. You'll be quite good with the challenge aspect, I'm sure. This is about stretching yourself, your willingness to push beyond your comfort zone, embracing growth, embracing all the stuff you don't understand yet, developing yourself through challenging experiences. If I'm honest, most people avoid this stuff like the plague. They're not really interested in getting out of their comfort zone. They don't really want to stretch themselves. They like a safe, predictable life. So stretching yourself, of course, means there's a risk, and that's not always going to go well. But if it's not going to go well, you're going to learn something. So you learn from everything that happens to you, whether it's for failure or a success, it's a lesson. And to me, it's a win-win. So that's about being able to change your perspective on a situation quite often. So something happens to you and you think, oh my God, I can't deal with this. This is too much. Immediately being able to flip the situation, seeing what's great about this problem. There's something hiding in this challenge that I'm missing. And you can find it if you look hard enough. So challenge is that one. Then there is commitment, your ability to set and complete a task. I'm quite good at commitment. I have quite a lot of discipline in my life, in my crazy head. So I say, I will do this every day for 6 weeks. I will do it. I won't break that promise to myself. I will commit, and I'm in. And lots of people will make promises to themselves and break it within 5 minutes. So mentally tough people quite like that commitment. They like to focus on an outcome and do everything that is required to get there. It's also, of course, if you set a goal, set a task, you have to execute quite a lot of stages along the way. You have to prioritize things along the way. You've got to deliver the outcome, and that takes commitment and promises. I don't like to break promises to myself.
Yeah.
And most people don't really care about that.
This is something I chat about all the time, to ad nauseum almost, because every time you break a promise to yourself, you show yourself you don't respect yourself. That's a commitment that you consistently break to yourself, and it's the most important one. It doesn't matter if you tell anybody else.
Right.
You're telling yourself that you are unreliable, that you are untrustworthy, and that you lack self-respect every time you break a promise to yourself. And I think it's a really challenging thing, because we've looked as a society, I think, for outside validation so hard that we almost discount the promises we make to ourselves being the most important.
It's very true. But the thing is, if you do that, if you do make promises to yourself and you keep them, it sort of has a knock-on effect in your outside life as well. So I want my commitment is that I get up at 5:30 every single day of the year, and I go to the gym and I do at least 1.5 hours of quite hard, tough exercise. I'm 60 years old next year. I don't think many people my age do that stuff, but that's my commitment to living as long as I can, because I love my life, getting as fit as I can for this physical challenge that I've got coming up. And I also, it feels like this is my secret sauce that no one else is drinking today. Like it's the sprinkling of magic
Mm.
that I've got a secret weapon. I can get up and do things before people have even woken up, got out of bed. And that makes me feel confident, which is the last of the 4 C's, confidence. Having the confidence in your ability to get this thing done. I believe I can do it. I might not have all the skills, I might not have all the resources, but I know where to find them. I will find them. I have confidence, a strong belief in myself that I will tackle this and achieve it. And of course, very few of us can achieve much on our own. We need to engage with other people. So that's also about having your confidence to engage with other people to help them get things done. A lot of us resist, and I've been pretty poor at this. I resist leaning on other people because I don't like to trouble people, don't want to be a burden, and I want to see what I can do on my own. Well, of course, that's pretty stupid, really, because we achieve much more when we're together. So those I've whizzed through the 4 of them, but those 4 pillars, as you can imagine, are the foundation of every single person's potential high performance, because you get those things in place, you start to develop them, and you're kind of good to go. But of course, you can get your confidence quite high, but one email, one text, boom, your confidence back to zero. So
Mm.
these things don't stay where they are; they shift and change every day. And I might be completely committed to something today, and tomorrow I just am not. So that's just life, learning and believing and understanding that things happen, and you roll with it. But there are lots of things we can all do, and we probably do them without realizing we're doing them to develop our mental toughness. I mean, you look at COVID, and people came out of COVID, that lockdown, those lockdown years, pretty much one way or the other, either coping with pretty much everything because they learnt so much and they had to learn, or they came out broken. And it was quite divisive in a sense, COVID, because it really showed people what they're made of and what they
Yeah.
could become. So some people might have entered it quite mentally sensitive and exited it mentally tougher. We all probably, most of us will have got mentally tougher through that period.
Mm. Yeah, we were put to the fire. And it's such an interesting, I love that you reference back to that because collectively we share that together. We all share that, that time period together. And it may have it definitely looked different for all of us. But we had this kind of collective time period where either you came out a little bit tougher and more resilient, or, you
Or you
found
didn't,
yourself feeling a little bit more broken towards the
right?
circumstances that you faced. And I think, I had when you talk to people about that time, it's always very different experiences, right? Like
Yeah,
how we talk about, what the lockdown looked like for us. And of course, in different geographical locations that may have looked different for you, and what resources that you had, or, family supports and everything that you had. But I remember, the gym and fitness is very important to me. And I have talked to a lot of people about, what happened during that time the gyms were all shut down. And during that time, I built my own. I found an open garage. I first was lifting in parking lots, and then ended up by the time, everything reopened, well, I had built a gym. And it had
wow,
started from just, parking lots and borrowing equipment from some of the local gyms because they had shut down. So, and it turned out to be and I genuinely empathize that this is not everyone's experience, but it turned out to be some of the fondest memories for me because my father's in his 60s, and I had him come and work out with me, and we got to just like have this thing we built together, and then we just worked out together during all of that time. And it was really a lifeline for him
wow.
because he interaction. You need that interaction. It was like your time to get out, just the two of us out there lifting.
That's wonderful, because you would never have found yourself doing that together, would you?
Exactly.
If life had been normal during those years. That's, yeah, and I think lots of people have that experience. I had it with my daughter. We just had really quite a fantastic time, because we would never have
Yeah.
spent so much time together. And we started running through the woods where I live, very beautiful here. Yeah, it was lovely. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah, you can kind of look back and say, well, I have some really fond memories
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I talk to people about that and I'm like, wow, I know this sounds really weird, but it feels like such a fond memory for me. And I think those pillars and how you know, went through each of them are so important, and we can kind of figure out where they fit for us in our lives. And I guess where I was wondering is if if I'm someone who feels that I'm kind of like emotionally fragile, I'm more creative, I see sometimes challenges that are kind of owning me and life is kind of happening to me. Say that's where I'm starting. Is there, when we're talking about these pillars, is there a start? Is there one that we genuinely start with and build on? Or is it this is kind of the foundation has been laid here?
I don't think there is a rule, like a general rule. I think there might be a person whose just confidence has always been low, and they've always doubted themselves, and that might be the first area for them to work on. There might be somebody else who is always felt battered by the life challenges that are, relentless, and that might be a place for them to start. It's And also where you catch people at what point in their life. I don't think you can say start with this one. I think it's so personal, so based on where you are today, which might be different to tomorrow. Everything's a snapshot in time. What's going on? What resources you've got? How strong you feel? How little energy you've got? It depends on so many things. But whoever's listening to this will probably be drawn to one of those particular areas as I described them. And you go, well, that's probably the one that you maybe need to work on because
Yeah,
it
I
stood
agree.
out.
It changes so much and it changes at different points in our journey. I think that even if you've considered yourself someone who has faced adversity and you're pretty resilient and you hear some of those pillars and say, you know what, commitment maybe is something that I could put some more focus into, and
Right.
that would help, develop my mental toughness a little
Yeah.
bit more because I find
Because the
myself
thing is,
lacking.
exactly. So commitment is, if somebody says, I want to lose weight or I want to get a promotion, well, you're going to need some commitment for the process. And if you keep giving up really early, you're never going to get there. And then that dents your confidence and it's all spirals. So, yeah, I mean, and sometimes a conversation with somebody who knows you really well will help you to reveal, that self-awareness thing. I know that I'm really bad at the commitment piece. So you do have to be really brutally honest with yourself and sort of face your demons in a way in order, to go back a step, to go forward a few. Yeah.
Quick interruption to tell you about our biggest Halloween event ever. We have consolidated all of our Halloween releases. We have some restocks, new items, all dropping on August 22nd. But this is the biggest Halloween event that we have had. So if you're one of my spooky girlies, it's your time to shine and grab some of the greatest Halloween gear that we have to offer on August 22nd. I did want to ask you too. I pulled my community for some questions and what they wanted to know about mental toughness, so I could just answer them directly. And I think one of the common threads that came up was that we all have different personality traits, and some people talked about, well, you've developed this personality trait, and then others in your life expect you to kind of act that way and expect those personality traits, and how can we kind of change that maybe with ourselves or with the people that we're interacting with?
Well, the answer that pops into my head is display it. If somebody's expecting something and they see something different, then display. Well, I mean, obviously, be who you are and don't do things to please other people, because that's always a bit empty. But start practicing what you preach, just showing yourself, showing other people what you're made of. I mean, but that's not for everybody. Some people go, well, I don't, that's not me. I like to be private and quiet and keep everyone guessing a bit. I don't want to reveal too much emotion. I want people to wonder what I'm thinking because I don't want to show it. So, this is the problem, is that you can't, I end up generalizing because everyone is different. But I think if you want the perception of you to be different, then you just have to start displaying that thing. Just show it.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I
little
love that because
steps.
we can only, we're not controlling other people's perception of us, right? But we can start acting like the person that we want to be. And sometimes even like, when you have long-standing relationships, sometimes people take a snapshot of you at one time in your life, and that lives till forever.
Yeah,
They
yeah, for
stay
sure.
there. And it sometimes is worth, just for some of the listeners, sometimes it's worth saying, that's not the person that I am anymore. And I do follow through with my commitments. And I understand that you may have had a perception of me at one point, but that's not who I am anymore. And a verbal correction can go a long way into
Right.
getting, some of the people in your life to rethink maybe how they're interacting with you.
Absolutely right. You're quite right. Yeah, totally agree.
So I think that, when it comes to developing mental toughness, I mean, I think I know the answer to this, but some of my listeners wanted to know: is it ever too late to start this? Is it ever too late to start developing mental toughness? When do we start? Do we start as children or as adults?
Well, you do know the answer to this, of course. Of course, it's never too late. And the thing is, we're doing it subconsciously. We're doing it all the time. Probably most of us are. But you can do it very profoundly. You can set yourself ridiculous tasks like rowing 3,000 miles, but you don't have to do that. Maybe you're struggling to get out of bed in the morning. That could be a real problem for some people. So start with that and just give yourself a plan, commit to it, um, deliver on it, to give yourself the confidence that you can. It's just, for lots of people, it's just little small steps regularly repeated. I mean, Olympic performers, everyone thinks, they're amazing people. Well, they're just really disciplined and they do horrible stuff a lot. And that's why they become elite performers. But even if you're not interested in elite performance, it's the same principle. You just have to keep repeating things that perhaps you're not that keen on. But it's never too late, never, ever too late to start to develop your ability to manage your life and situations.
Yeah, that's a great point too. It happens in these small actions. You think it's this like giant overhaul of your life when we really need to start with something, for a lot of people, something as simple as
Yeah,
I get out of bed maybe at this time, or I'm committing to doing this thing first thing in the morning, just maybe one of your first actions of the day. And you
exactly.
said, just, as we talked about performance and, some of the elite athletes. So you've been said to have perfected the art of psychologically powered performance to bring out the very best in people. Can you explain what that means?
It's fancy words for everything I've just talked about for 35 minutes. It's about being consciously aware of who you are, that self-awareness thing. Stop kidding yourself. Be honest with yourself. When you really are honest with yourself, you know what needs doing. Most people listening to this will be going, "Yeah, I know I should be, but I don't really want to." And people know, really.
They do.
So
They
it's
do.
just about being self-aware, then adding the discipline, the commitment, all that stuff. But it all starts with a long, hard stare in the mirror, I think.
Yeah, I think we have a tendency to make up a lot of reasons or excuses or justifications for maybe why we haven't done the thing that we want to do, or we're not living to the potential that we want to do. But taking that hard look and just being completely honest, it's not a judgment thing. It's just being completely honest just with yourself. And
Right.
that's the only way that we're able to start to improve, is if we actually take a look at where we are. Where are you today? Like, figure out not where you, um, wanted to be, like, where are you today so that you can get to where you want to be. But we have to start with that honest look.
And also there's something about desire or passion here, because When I wanted to be a rally driver, I wanted it bad, like nothing else on earth. I wanted it more than anyone else around me, which is why I got more sponsorship, which is why I got a better car. I wanted it so bad. And if you want it a bit, then manage your expectations of what you're going to achieve, because it's a tougher world out there. You've really got to put everything into it. And if you don't want it that bad, that's okay as well. You don't have to be bursting with passion, but it's just about being honest with yourself, going, well, I quite like it, but I'm not prepared to do what is required to get it. And I'm happy with that. I just don't have that
Absolutely.
mindset myself.
I know. Well, it's you've developed that over time, and that, I think you're right, that motivation to start with something that you want badly is a great place for a lot of people to start. Figure out what that is. What is it that lights your soul on fire? What is that one
Exactly.
thing that gets you going? And how, what are, then you have to rally back from that. What are the small steps that'll kind of get you there? What's that thing that gets you out of bed in the
Exactly.
morning?
Exactly. And that sort of purpose, I think, your choices become quite meaningful when you understand that purpose that's sort of secretly driving you or obviously driving you. I think, and then choices become much easier and decisions become clearer. Everything sort of falls into place when you really understand why you're here, what it's all about, where you want to focus your energy. I think it's just a useful exercise to really reflect on, what is the point of my life? Why am I here? What's it all
Yeah,
about? And it's a quite profound thought for a lot of people, but actually, for every single one of us, whatever our lives are like, it's nice to think, to go to bed at night going, this is what matters to me, and I did something with that or towards that today. It's a nice feeling, and like I say, decisions and choices become much more meaningful and easy when you know what the point is.
absolutely. Um, so I wanted to talk about some mindset surround over circumstances. And I think it's a great point. You were in circumstances that were really challenging, and you had this mindset to kind of like go for more. What I want to help people do is that if they are stuck in some, dwelling on their circumstances, how might they kind of shift their mindset into trying to see? I know a lot of people are saying, I can't see an opportunity in the circumstances that I'm in right now, Kelsey. Like, I get it. But how can we start to take steps in that direction? If someone's in a really difficult, they find
Yeah.
themselves looking at their really difficult circumstances, how can we start to shift that mindset?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I hope my answer isn't going to sound contrite or like a cop out. It's not. But I honestly believe that creating a really strong image in your mind, visualizing something, is amazingly powerful. So, you're having a rough time, nothing's going your way, whichever way you turn, it's not working out. Just take a step back. Just stop, pause, step back. Almost take a view from the bridge of your life. Almost come out of your body. Just take a little look at what's going on, and have a think about how you would design it if you had the choice. You could do anything with the circumstances or with the opportunities or lack of. How would I design it? How might I take one tiny step today to move towards that and away from this? Imagine it. Everything I've done in my life, I I didn't know there was a thing called visualization, but I have always had a very strong, creative, visualizing head. I can see things in my head. I've bought loads of houses, done them up because I can see them the minute I walk in the door as a ruin. I can see them finished. So visualizing for me has become, I've done it all my life. I now know that it's really powerful and it really helps. And people think, oh, I don't visualize, I can't do it. Well, everyone can. Everyone can. So I think that's the easiest answer to your question, is to just stop, take a view from the bridge, just think about how you would want it to go, imagine what it would look like, imagine what you would feel like if you did, and just keep doing that relentlessly. And amazingly, it will pull you towards the thing that you're heading for. It really does work. And I'm not going to say it anymore because people just have to go away and try it. It's worked all through my life. You only got to pick up a book of a successful person and they'll talk about how they visualize things. It's not me. Everyone that does this effectively will talk and talk about the power of it. So I would really encourage people to do that.
Yeah, I love that. And it really encourages that quiet, just visualization of your life, of your circumstances, how you would design it. Like, you're giving some great insight to mental toughness. We can talk to people about how you might build this, but each person listening, you are the expert of your life. You're the
Right.
only one who knows what you want it to look like, and you're the
Yeah.
only one who can design it. So we can give tools. We can talk about some of the the things that you might come up with or how to get there. But the vision is yours.
Yeah. And all the possibilities are yours and all the choices are yours and all the blocks in the way are yours. There is a way around most things. There's a way around under or over or through most things. And I know that I've been the biggest obstacle in my life many, many times. And I try not to do that now. But quite often we are our biggest problem. So just, allow yourself to just check off. Yeah, I probably don't make that easy for myself.
Yes.
We are human, but it's worth that conversation with yourself as well.
Absolutely. I did want to hit on just another a confidence one with you. I know that a lot of people envision themselves as they want confidence, they want to find it, they're looking for it under their beds, they're hoping to um, buy it somewhere, or it comes at a certain weight if they've decided to weight loss. But ultimately, confidence is not something you can find. I believe it's something you can build, that you are building. Um, how do we build unshakable confidence? Is it something we can borrow?
Sometimes you have to pretend that you're confident when you're not. I've done it so many times in my life. Most of us operate on evidence. I don't think I can do this. And then you try it and you go, actually, I can do it. So I've now got some evidence that I'm not as useless as I thought. And then you do it a bit more and you go, okay, I've got more evidence. You need to be aware of the evidence that you've created all through your life. So sometimes, if it's a job promotion somebody's after and their confidence is low, just write your CV again, go back over all the things you've achieved. You're actually way more capable than you thought you were. You've achieved more. You've forgotten about half that stuff. You're actually pretty good. Reminding yourself, sometimes that can just lift your confidence quite quickly. But everything in our lives is down to the relationships we build with other people, and if you display confidence to people, you build trust. So I'm happy to deal with you if you're giving me a good impression, and you're doing that without realizing by displaying a confident air about you. And of course, every relationship we have, family, friends, colleagues, suppliers, clients, everything is built on trust. So sometimes we have to display confidence when we even don't feel it, because we need to engage with other people. So that's why I'm saying sometimes you have to pretend you're more confident than you really are, because you need to have that relationship with somebody that trusts in order to get the next thing done. And of course, when you pretend you're more confident than you are and it goes your way, you go, oh, actually, maybe that was real. Maybe that is me. So sometimes you can fake it till you make it. But yeah, just gathering evidence as well of what you've forgotten you're capable of. And just remembering that even if you try something, it doesn't go your way, it does not mean it's a failure. You just learn that way doesn't work, or that hurt a bit too. There's always a way around it, and just reframing the failure thing into everything's a lesson.
I love that. Everything is a lesson.
quick interruption. Guys, we are always talking about the importance of community to help you along your journey, to keep you motivated, to surround you with like-minded people. And we have a massive, massive community to do just that. If you haven't already, get in our fitness group on Facebook, Fitness Programming by CVG. Get on our app, CVG Nation. We've got hundreds of thousands of women on there who are just waiting to cheer you on. And we cannot wait to meet you. Get with us on our channels. We love to see you there.
I did want to talk about some like other physical challenges a little bit as well. Do you feel like in order to build mental toughness, we should be doing something physically challenging every day as part of our lifestyle? How does that play a role into building mental toughness? I think when we talk about building mental toughness, everyone just goes, this is all mindset. This has nothing to do with anything physical. You know, this it's in this direction, as kind of as if our head is cut off from the rest of our body, right? But how do you think physical challenges play a part into that?
Well, all I can tell you is that when I feel physically strong, I feel mentally strong. And I think they go together. But being physically fit, physically active, physically strong, I mean, there's just nothing to lose, is there? It means I feel more confident. I know that I have more control over the situation because I'm in control of my body, because I do it every single day. And I don't mind pushing myself in a challenge physically, mentally, because I know that I've got the physical ability. Most people of my age are not as physically able as I am. That feels like a superpower. So if I feel like I've got a physical superpower, obviously I'm going to feel like I'm more able to deal with stuff. So I think they go hand in hand, but you don't have to be crazy fit, crazy strong to be mentally tough, obviously. But I think they're secret friends. They need to meet more often. Obviously, there's nothing to lose in physical activity, and I bang on about it a little bit because I want everyone to live an active life. I can't bear the thought of being cared for or not able to do something. So I do everything I possibly can to stay independent, fit and healthy. I've just had a granddaughter. I want to be at her wedding. I want to see her kids. I want to be around for a long time. So to me, the physical aspect is vital, critical. And I probably talk from my view because it works for me. You can be mentally tough without being physically super strong, super fit, but it helps.
It certainly helps. And I think sometimes it goes back to that control aspect too, is that, if you are in control of your body, you feel in control of your body,
Exactly
you
right.
feel confident in your abilities and your ability to live a more limitless life.
Right.
Like I look at physical challenge, like I can go do that. Like I don't have concerns about picking up my son or throwing him around because like I feel physically confident in them. It gives me confidence as a mother. It gives me that it just kind of like it spills itself into all of these
Exactly.
other forms. And I think that was like specifically, I'm 6 months postpartum, and that was specifically relevant during my pregnancy, is that I was lucky enough to continue to lift and continue to work out through my pregnancy, and going into into actually having this and into delivery, I felt really strong and confident and able. And like I was like, I've never done this before. I've never delivered a child, like but I went into it with feeling, mentally tough, and physically that definitely played into it for me, because I felt like I had the confidence, and I had the you know the proof behind it. Well, I just deadlifted. I was kind of like running through, you can go through that. You can have a unmedicated labor because you have all of these you've proven over all of these months that you are physically able. It gave me the confidence in that ways. And I think for a lot of people, whatever the challenge is that you're facing, I draw on some of those physical capabilities.
Yeah. Congratulations on your baby, by the way.
Thank
But of
you.
course, if you're physically fit, strong, you train. That takes a certain amount of discipline. It takes a certain amount of pushing yourself. All those little things that you build up daily, and you push and push and push and push over weeks, months, years. All of that stuff is building, is learning lessons in your head. Like, I can do this. All that's not so good. You're learning more about yourself. You're having more confidence in your physical ability to do something. So when a challenge comes your way that, you know, like one of life's curved balls, I genuinely think you've just, even if it's subconsciously, you just learn how to get through hard stuff. And the more you can, and we never learn anything from the wins. We learn from the pain. You look at your life, the chaos, the pain, the mess that we've all experienced. That's what has made us us. That's what's made me me. And I wouldn't be the person I was if I hadn't had to get through some tough stuff. So I celebrate it in a sense. I don't think I wish I hadn't had to go through that. I'm glad I did, because I came out the other side. So yeah, back to your original question, physical strength absolutely has an impact in my mind on the mental strength, because you will have had to experience lots of things to get physically tough, and you lean on all of those for the mental stuff.
Absolutely. So I want to just, kind of close with some thoughts. Is there anything that maybe we didn't touch on today, or that some of our listeners could take from today's podcast, or that they can do today to start developing some mental toughness? I mean, we talked some great actionable tips throughout the podcast. So guys, if you want to start with some visualization and stuff, but if there's anything, that we didn't touch on yet that you think people could take and start.
Well, first of all, I would say that mental toughness, I think, is an advantage. I said this at the beginning. But if you aren't a mentally tough person, you're mentally sensitive, the world needs you too. If everyone in the world was really mentally tough, it would be a nightmare. We need the kind, creative, caring, empathetic people who don't maybe cope with the stress and pressure so well, but are vital to a group. Yeah. We need that diversity of mental toughness and mental sensitivity. It's important. So if you're not that person, don't worry. What else would I say? Yeah, the visualization thing is amazing. Just start with the small wins. Just set yourself a little goal. Something that's been eating away at you for years that you want to do. Well, just make a little tiny weeny plan. Write it down. Do a little thing every day to get towards it, and just surprise yourself, because we are so much more capable than we realise. And the feeling, the satisfaction when you do something that you didn't think you could do, or that you wouldn't get, is so rewarding. And I have written 365 ways to develop mental toughness, which you can get on Amazon, because it's such a personal thing. What you and I might do that works well won't work for Sarah or Tom. So everyone has to find their own way. And it might be doing something like getting out of bed an hour earlier every day, or having an ice cold shower, or reading that big fat report on your desk that you've been avoiding. It's just do some of the things. Practice tolerating discomfort. Do the things that you don't really want to do, however small, just to prove to yourself that you can do this.
Yeah, tolerating discomfort is such a great way to put that. I do want to say I'm glad you said, for some of the mentally sensitive people who hear this and they're like, oh my God, that's not that's me, and I consider myself not mentally tough, and I'm so glad you said we need you too. But if you're sitting there and you're thinking, I am, I'm creative and I'm empathetic and I'm a mentally sensitive person, but it's really not working for me in my life in the way of feeling good, being able to set boundaries and feeling like I'm not a victim of my circumstances. Is there a way that we can kind of like, you can still be more sensitive and more, but take some steps towards a little bit more resilience, and that would, how that would be beneficial, I guess, for some people in their lives, that maybe you could just develop a little bit of the resilience and what some of those small tasks would look like.
Yeah, and it's just like anything in life. Lots of little things, bring them together, and they make quite a difference. So don't lose heart. If you think that's just not me, I couldn't do it, because, well, that's almost certainly not true anyway. You can also be too mentally tough, by the way. You can be so focused on where you're going that you stop listening to other people's thoughts and advice. You could be so mentally tough and emotionally in control that no one can read you, and you're intimidating and scary, and that's not helpful either. So there are extremes which aren't great. Um, but people will know when they're really honest with themselves and they have that self-awareness. They'll know the little areas that they really probably could work on and move up.
Move the needle just a little bit more to that middle ground where we're not sitting on extremes of either of those. Maybe we're sitting somewhere in the middle. Well, guys, if you haven't checked out her book yet, though, that's a great place to start. But I do want to let our listeners know where they could hear more from you and where they could find you.
So my website is pennymallory.co.uk. I've got a YouTube channel. Just search Penny Mallory. There's quite a lot of videos. There's some podcasts. There's all sorts of stuff. And I've got 3 books on my website. It lists the 3 books. They're all on Amazon. They're really all about pushing through performance. You can do more than you think you can do. That theme has gone through everything. Because I've surprised myself all my life, and I want other people to surprise themselves too.
You are incredibly inspirational. I know, I'm sure you've heard that a million times, but even just speaking with you, I know I do, and a lot of our listeners will immediately feel inspired to take some of these steps. So just thank you for all the work that you do in sharing your gifts with the world.
I thank you. I can't. I don't like to take that, because all I'm doing is probably saying out loud a lot of stuff that other people just don't say out loud. That's all I'm doing, and I love life. I love human beings, and I want everyone to just push it a little bit more, because there's probably more life to live than maybe they realize. And yeah, I just think it's the most amazing privilege to live on this planet. And yeah, despite all the weird, horrible stuff that's going on in the world as well, there's some amazing people and some amazing things as well. Let's focus on those.
Let's focus on those. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. And I know our listeners will check out more from you, but it's
Absolute
been an
pleasure.
absolute privilege.
Thank you.